What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I am coming at you guys because we're going to be going through the card analysis for the Abhyss. This is one of the three archetypes that will be released in Ancient Guardian, and I'm sure a lot of people are very excited about this because of the fact that this was the archetype people were questioning. It looks like a snake. Is it gonna be a snake? Are we gonna get some good snake? Are we gonna get some good reptile support? Can Konami deliver? And they did not disappoint. We have basically a nice revival of dark and light reptile monsters. So if you're a fan of reptiles, you want to play a little bit light and dark, this is really good for you. And I read through some of these effects and wow, they are amazing. So in the OCG, they're going to be called the Meikai. I think this is a term used for serpents or reptiles. If anyone wants to, chime in on that, please leave it in the comment section so I don't look. So that way I at least have that together, and so that the other players can be informed. Before I go any further, I just want to make a quick little statement. There was a comment left in one of my videos about my analysis videos, and I do want to set the record straight. When I do analysis videos, I talk about pretty much, I go through each card. Then once I'm done with each card or cards in the section, I then will give my full opinion on set cards. This is just how every analysis video that I've seen done about cards goes over it. No flashy lights, no spectrums, no crazy woos and moves with pictures and stuff on the screen. No, I'm going to go straight through it and then give my opinion on the cards themselves. And that's just how analysis videos are. Some of us do it the same. So, you don't like it, grab your camcorder and do it yourself. So, alright, I've been through that. No more talking about crazy. Let's actually go into the craziness that is the Abhyss archetype. And I'm going to be saying it like that too because it's supposed to be a play on like hiss, which is what the sound most snakes make. So, you have no Dirk of the Abhyss. This is a level 4 light attribute reptile monster with 0 attack and defense. You can only use each of its effects once per turn each. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to send one dark reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. If you control no monsters, you control an Abhyss monster. You can summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can also summon monsters while this card is also summoned by its effect in the monster zone, except reptiles. Next up is Neo, Dirk of the Abhyss. So this is the second Dirk. It's a level 4 dark attribute reptile type monster with 0 attack and 2000 defense. You'll use each of its effects once per turn each. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to send one light reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is a normal special summon, you can add one of this spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Then we have Phologi, the Haze of the Abhyss. This is a level 4 light attribute reptile monster with 1800 attack, 1400 defense. You can use each of its effects once per turn each. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or summoned from the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one monster in their graveyard with equal or higher attack. You special summon the target in your opponent's graveyard to their field, and if you do, send the target they control to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to add it to your hand. Then we have Zoha Hazel the Abhyss, level 4 dark attribute reptile type monster with 1500 attack, 1700 defense. You'll use each of this card's effects once per turn each. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can summon from the graveyard. You can have your opponent draw one card, and then if you do, you can add one Abhyss monster from your deck to your hand, except for Zoha the Hazel the Abhyss. Then each player sends one card from their hand to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to add this card to your hand. Next up is Curse, Dawn of the Abhyss. Level 8 light attribute reptile type monster with 400 attack, 2400 defense. You'll use this card's effects once per turn each. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute one monster, so summon this card. Then your opponent can summon one monster from their graveyard, but negate its effect. effects. Then, if this card is in your essential summon, you can target one level 4 or lower Abhyss monster in your graveyard and summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. The next of the monsters is Elith, Dusk of the Abyss. This is a level 8 Dark Attribute reptile type monster with 2000 attack and 800 defense. You only use this card's effects once per turn each. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you contribute this card in your graveyard, you contribute one monster. So summon this card from your graveyard, then your opponent can add one monster from their graveyard to your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can target 2 of your banished monsters, including one reptile monster, and add them to your graveyard. The next monster is Aaron, King of the Abyss, level 8 light attribute, reptile type monster, 2500 attack, 2800 defense. You only use each of its effects once per turn each. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute 2 monsters to summon this card. If your opponent adds a card or cards to their hand except during the draw phase, you can send one card randomly from their hand to the graveyard. If a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by the card effect, you can add one light or dark reptile monster from your deck to your hand, except for Aaron, King of the Abyss. Here is his queen, Amnesia, the Queen of the Abyss, level 8 dark attributes reptile type monster, 2700 attack, 2100 defense. You can only use this card's effects once per turn each. This card in your graveyard contribute 2 monsters to summon this card. If a card is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you can send one card they control to the graveyard. If a monster is summoned from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special summon one light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard, except for Amnesia, the Queen of the Abyss. Then we have their last monster, and of course, one of the cover monsters for the set. This is Abhyss, the Deity of the Abyss. This is level 10 light attribute reptile type monster with 3100 attack, 2200 defense. You only use this card's effects once per turn each. This card is in your graveyard, you contribute 3 monsters to summon this card. Once while this card is face up on the field, quick effect, you can send all monsters on the field to the graveyard, except for face up monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard. Then we have the field spell. This is Depth of the Abyss. You can only activate one of each of this card's effects once per turn. When they face a reptile monster you control is destroyed in a battle or an opponent's card effect, you can target one of your opponent's cards they control and send it to the graveyard. If this card is in the field zone, it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect. You can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of reptile monsters in the graveyard with a different name. We have the trap card Emptiness of the Abyss. This is a continuous trap card. You're going to use its effects once per turn. You can only use the first effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can target one reptile monster, then one monster your opponent controls in graveyard. Also in their graveyard, so summon it to your side of the field, but negate its effects to the end phase. But it's sent to graveyard during the end phase, sorry, not negate. If this face up card and you set a trap card zone is sent to graveyard, send all face up non-reptile monsters you control to the graveyard. We have the trap card Invasion of the Abyss. You can activate one card with this card's name once per turn. Special summon 2 Abyss tokens, dark reptile level 2, 0 attack and defense. You have 8 or more Abyss monsters in the graveyard with different names. You can apply this following effects. So summon 2 reptile monsters with different names from your graveyard. And then the reprint of Snake Ring. So, what's going on here is that we have a lot of light and dark monsters that contradict each other, but they have the ability to help assist reptile monsters, in primarily dark and light. But here's the crazy thing. I can see Venom Naga, Queen of Venomous Snakes, making some weird appearance. I think a lot of these cards and their interactions are going to be great. Just due to the fact that it's combining light and dark, 2 archetypes that when put together do some crazy shenanigans. We've seen variations of Chaos. We've seen variations of Goat. Goat and Chaos. We've seen just Chaos throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! Do so much, and now we have an archetype that really helps support focusing on the graveyard. And in not being afraid of the graveyard either, even being banished from the graveyard, because they have a lot of cards that interact there. So Null and Nihil, pretty much light and dark counterparts. The thing about this is that the abilities, to special summon are going to be beneficial, especially when you're trying to drop a lot of monsters onto the field. And this is exactly what this archetype does. While no will stop you from special monsters except for reptile, I don't think there's going to be much of an issue because of how um, this archetype works itself. You do have recovery. You do have search in the form of Nihil, who gets your Abhyss spell and traps. We move on to the next duo, and that is Philagi and Zoha. With Philagi, it is more so of removal of cards, but you give your opponent something in exchange, which it's a bittersweet thing. It's like, hey, I can take care of this really high attack monster, but I'm also gonna give you a monster. So be careful of that. Zoha, on the other hand, gives the whole draw, discard, and then adding of an Abhyss monster. So you're pretty much drawing and searching. Um, yeah. So it's like it's a perfectly fine thing. I give my opponent a draw, but I get to get a monster from my deck, and then I get to be able to pretty much do a Dark World dealings with my opponent. Which for this, that's actually not too bad. We do have Curse and Ethiel. Nothing too substantial, but you do get a really good special summon off of the curse, because the curse can get low for our lower vessel monsters and it special summon them. Even though they're going to leave the field, at that point exceed summon in order to make sure they don't hit the banish. And then of course the whole negate such a summon up for opponent's monster to give them a monster while you such a summon this card. While the Dusk does kind of the opposite. You can add a monster from their graveyard to the hand, but you get to summon this monster. And then you can target your banished monsters and return them to the graveyard, at least as one of them is a reptile, which at that point, recovery. We have the King and Queen, who get to summon of 2 monsters to drop them onto the board, while the King sends a random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. When they add cards from their deck to the graveyard, you have the Queen, who has the ability to, when our opponent's monsters are sent from, when cards are sent from here, you get to summon a reptile. And then if a monster says from your opponent's grave, you get to send a card they control to the graveyard. So she gives a bit of removal while the King deals with the hand. And then they have this really cool effect to get light and dark reptiles. That's already nice there. And then, of course, we have the Deity of the Abhyss. And it's not too bad of a monster there. I think this, honestly, just the massive removal that doesn't just include destroy, it includes send. Which works around a lot of cards right now. So that is actually something really good. Especially on a level 10 monster with 3,100 attack. It may not seem like a lot of attack, but that whole effect it has is amazing. Really good fill spell, really good counter actions to reptile, and then of course the Abhyss archetype itself, and then the fact that it gets you to flood your graveyard with cards as well. Emptiness of the Abhyss, another really good card, especially when it comes to just dealing with your opponent's stuff. And then snatching your opponent's stuff for yourself. The Invasion, wow, what a token maker for the Abhyss archetype. There can be some really good advantages to this as well. And then the reprint of Snake Ring kind of just makes it even more deadlier, because it's now sending snakes to your reptiles to your graveyard that fills up a lot of your monster's effects and even triggers many of them. So looking at this all, wow, I'm going to really give this an A. I want to see how this plays out, and I want to see how much of an interaction people are going to do with this when it does come to various anchors of, light and dark and reptile stuff that you can have. So, let me know what you guys think about the Abhyss archetype, and what are your thoughts and opinions on it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys can be informed of when I do upload content, and my social media links are in the description box below. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. HBJ signing out. Take care.